week, right? We had the Monday mandate walkout.
Waking up California with Diego Martinez, candidate for governor of California.
Because of the vaccination.
What a week. A lot of stuff going on around the news, a lot of stuff going on in the United States, a lot of stuff that affects us locally and around the United States is now happening. A lot of things been changing. A lot of laws are changing daily, and most of us don't pay attention to what's changing daily, that our senators, our assemblymen are out there signing, and it's affecting each and every single one of us here in California. This isn't about party lines. We don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian. This is about waking up California with information. Both parties are welcome. Everybody's welcome. Leave your party lines and your hatred at home and come on and join us for Waking Up California every Thursday morning, because we have a lot going on. We're going to start off first inviting everybody. This is a Patriots United Freedom Rally, and I'm just going to call it for California people. Come on out to Ceres, California, Saturday morning from noon to 4, I believe it is, in Ceres River Bluff Regional Park. We're going to be out there. We have an amazing lineup of speakers coming up that day. But better than that, like-minded people getting together, talking about the issues and what's going on with California. If you're in the Central Valley, Modesto, Merced, Atwater, Turlock, Sonora, Oakdale, Riverbank, any one of those areas that you can get down to Ceres, California, come on out, come meet me. We're going to have a booth out there. We're going to give out some free t-shirts. We're also going to be speaking that day. We can talk about California issues. We can talk about government issues. We have a lot of that going on right now. Somebody the other day, and I'm going to get to some of the headlines that we have going on right now. We have talked about what is going on here in the Central Valley. We have talked about how everything that's going on in Sacramento affects us, our water problems that are affecting LA now, in Southern California. We talked about the 58 counties now being in a state of emergency about water. We're going to talk about all that today. We're even going to bring up Alex Baldwin, and I got a couple of things to say about that. We're going to talk about the power and the industry of green versus fossil fuels versus hydro versus nuclear. How about going into, again, like I always say, biofuels that we need to bring into California for different reasons. We're going to talk about the 2024 year and why that's affecting everybody who's out here. And listeners, they're welcome to come on live anytime. Just put a request. We will accept all requests and people. Let's do a time factor so more people can get on our show. So are you there? Music. Let's see if she'll come. We We're doing a rally west side of the Capitol on November 18th for our water rights. So we have all this stuff that's happening. We have why we push the rally from November 18th so much right now, because we got to get everybody out there. We have got to get every Californian out there to come out and stand with us and fight for our water rights. This isn't about me running for governor. This is about California and California rights to our water. And it's time that we actually tell our legislation that we've had enough and we want our water rights. So let's get going today. Gas prices are going through the roof. We're getting double taxed. We're getting even triple taxed. $5 is now going to be the average in the state of California. I've noticed gas prices go from $4.50 to $4.90 a gallon in every different place. So if you guys want to put how much you guys are paying for gas, please do so. A couple of weeks ago, I drive a diesel. It took me $137 to fill up my diesel. $137 now, where it used to cost me $80. So our gas prices are going through the roof. We could talk about SB 339, which is kind of tied into the gas prices. How's that tied into the gas prices? When the gas tax first came out, they said that the person who's going to drive the most is going to have to pay the most because you're going to have to go fuel up more than once. So what ended up happening was what? They tax us on gases. Our gas prices now, since Joe Biden has taken office, has cut the pipelines, have cut almost all fracking in the United States, have jumped our gas prices. Well, if you're in California, now you're getting double taxed. You're getting it from the state of California and from the United States. Now we're almost at $5 a gallon. They're talking about prices over $6 by the end of winter. If you have propane has gone through the roof right now. Somebody was talking about that propane is going to jump as high as $20 a gallon. That is going to be for the rural areas. If you live in the rural areas, that in your house is set on heating by propane, or your stove or anything else that you have running on propane, that's going to affect your pockets because of these laws that are coming in effect. Let's talk a little bit about our gardeners and what is going on with them now that the new law has passed, that in 2024 we will not be able to have small engines, generators running because they pollute more. This is what they say, pollutes more than a Toyota Camry. It all sounds fine and dandy when you're talking about cleaning up earth, environmentalists, taking California and making it all green where we don't pollute anything. That all sounds really well. The only problem with that is this. It's very simple. Why did they stop smoking inside of a restaurant? Why did they make it illegal? Because if somebody's in the back room smoking, the smoke travels inside to where the non-smokers were. That was their justification for that. You can no longer smoke in a restaurant because the people who are non-smoker, unfortunately, we can't keep the air out, so that air contaminates the people who are non-smokers, right? Secondhand smoke. They did a big deal about that. So what happens to that? Well, think about that as the state of California. The state of California goes all green. Okay? Let's just say there's no more, we throw nothing in emissions anymore. That sounds fine and dandy. But Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Arizona, Mexico, they're dumping all their pollution into California. Did it do any good for California to go all green? No. It's a stupid format that the government is trying to do to control us and control our rights and control our freedom, and also get away from having small businesses in the state of California, because we all know that the small generator ban really hits small businesses in the state of California, or medium-sized businesses that depend on generators or weed eaters or any of that kind of motion. That's construction companies that are going to get hurt. Just think about this. You go to a construction site now, and instead of being able to plug in your small generator, turn on the air compressor so you can get your air tools going, now you got to go back to using a regular hammer without any assistance, unless you get something that is powered by a battery. The problem with that is batteries waste. Once the batteries are done, they're more damaging to our planet than the fumes that would have came off that small engine. Nobody ever thinks about it. See, the ideas sure sound really good. But if we do this, then what? If you guys ever heard AOC talk, this sounds really great, but she doesn't think about the next step and the step after that. That's the problem with our legislation. They only think about what's in front of them today. They don't think about the end results. They don't think about how many people it affects. They don't think what it's going to do to the common person. Those are the biggest problems that we have in the state of California. We have legislation that doesn't think past their noses. With that being said, SB 399 is stupidity. How are you going to charge me per mile that I drive? Well, I know how they're going to do it. But at that point, where does that draw me the line of saying, you know what? I don't need a car anymore. I don't need to go somewhere else and work. I'm going to try to find a job locally so I don't have to pay taxes on per mile that I drive. That is what's going to cost, because the average person used to drive 12 to 15,000 miles a year. Now we've almost doubled that to about 27,000 miles a year is what they're saying that the average person drives. Well, at those numbers, you're going to end up paying $2,200 per mile. That's what it comes out to. It comes out to about $2,200 plus your registration. So it's going to almost cost $3,000 per car that you own to have on the road. Whether you drive a motorcycle, whether you drive a car, whatever it is, they're going to tax you the same way. So how are you going to do this? How many cars are you really going to have in your driveway? And this now goes towards electric cars. See, the gas tax only helped people with gas cars. People with hybrids, people that were on Teslas, electric cars, you can't tax them on gas because they're not using any. People who have a Volt, Prius where you only put 15, 16 gallons, it doesn't cost you that much to drive because a portion of that you're driving on electricity. And we could talk about electricity and we could talk about power. I said I would bring it up, so here we are with it. Why is power so important? Well, the state of California has rolling blackouts. We see that all the time. Imagine a rolling blackout with your battery dead in your car, so you can't go anywhere. You can't move, but yet you have to go to the hospital, but you're snowed in and you can't get out. How are you going to keep your house warm? How's your house going to be kept warm in the winter when there's no power? Now, some people out here probably watching this show have solar. Let me ask you this. What happens when the power goes out to your solar? If you don't have a battery backup, if you don't have a generator, you still have no power. So imagine no power in the state of California, raining, cold outside where the sun doesn't come out. You have no power. Why? Because they took our small generators away. So yes, they're trying to actually, their next step is to take your home generator out of your home where you can't run it anymore. They're going to make it illegal in the state of California to own one or to even go able to purchase one, a new one. All that affects each and every single one of us who actually depend on a generator to actually be able to keep warm when there is no power. So just think about this. You go out camping and you have a camper trailer, you have an RV. Most of those run on small generators to keep the supply going while you're in that trailer. Let's talk about a little bit that we haven't really touched bases on. And I see this going around a little bit more now, is the child credit refund that most people are now getting in the mail coming back per child that you have at home. Right? You guys seen that check? Some of you guys are getting it. If you're getting it, just put like a little thumbs up. I kind of want to see if anybody on this group is getting it. What does that cost? So they're saying that the government's sending $300 per child that you have right now, which is basically your tax credit that you don't have to pay at the end of the year. That all sounds fine and dandy, right? The only problem is that somebody said, and I read this the other day, and that's why I'm bringing it up, that because that tax credit's coming out, now parents can afford to go back to work because they have $300 towards daycare. $300 doesn't even pay a week of daycare as daycare providers. The average child spends, the average parent pays $400 to $500 a week for childcare. So if you're telling me $300 pays your childcare, please let me know who your childcare provider is. I'd like to check them out and see if, because that's an affordable child day provider at $300 a month. Okay? So the $300 that they're sending you right now comes out to a total of $3,600 a year per child that you have. Be careful when you get free money from the government because that's in advance. So basically, they're saying, we're not going to give it to you at the end of the year. We're going to give it to you all right now. Well, most of us don't even get $3,600 back in total return. And that's only for one child at $300. So how much are you going to owe the government at the end of the year if they overpay you? Stuff like that we really have to look at. These programs sure sound good, and free money always sounds very good, but nothing's free in this world. You're going to have to end up having to pay it back, whether you pay it back now or whether you pay it down the road at the end of the year when you do your taxes. All this is the stuff that's going on right now that legislation's passing without most of us knowing what's going on. Got to be careful. Double-edged sword could really hurt you on the backside of this. So that's the child credit that everybody's getting right now, $300 per child. I think is what I heard that they're giving you, $3,600 a year per child. Do you get that back at the end of the year? You have to pay taxes on it. Do they consider it income? Because everything that the government gives you, they consider an income. Even your tax return, you have to pay income on it the next year. So most people have an extra $3,600 that they're going to have to pay income tax on. Imagine if you got 2 or 3 kids. It's almost 10 grand that you're going to have to pay income tax on money that they gave you on your refund that they advanced you. So you're getting double taxed again. I want to talk about this a little bit. Alex Baldwin. And I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to bring up Alex Baldwin. And no, I'm not obsessed with Alex Baldwin. I'm not obsessed with what happened. What happened was a tragedy. The problem is this. Negligence of a firearm. Who pays the broken plates when that happens? The law-abiding gun owner. The law-abiding citizen. And why am I bringing this up? This happened in New Mexico. Because California, we pay, if you're a gun owner, we pay for everybody else's mistakes Everybody else is negligence. It doesn't matter where it happened. There was a shooting in Florida, California, we got stricter laws. There was a shooting in New Mexico, Alex Baldwin. And this is funny to me because the guy is anti-gun, hates guns, but doesn't have a problem using a gun. Now, the gun that was used that killed the producer is said to be a gun that they had on set for after-hours target shooting. So somebody already knew that gun had live ammo, which breaks all their protocols when you're making a movie. I know somebody said, what do you know? I know quite a bit about making movies. I also know the rights, and I also know that the unions. I also know that precautions are taken to make sure that there are blanks in those guns and not live ammo. I also understand that Alex Bowick is also a producer in that film, which is his responsibility, is the union's responsibility, is flat out negligence on why the producer died. I also know, being a gun owner, that you do not point a gun unless you're ready to pull the trigger. Now, I don't know what role this producer had to play in, but even if you're shooting blanks, why are you pointing it at somebody who you're not supposed to be pointing it at? Why are you pointing the gun at somebody who isn't in that film, being part of the actor, being part of the person that you're supposed to be? Now, there's some negligence there, and somebody loaded that gun. Guns don't load themselves. You can tell the difference between a blank and a real bullet. So, who loaded the gun? They have safety courses that they're supposed to take before shooting, and the last person responsible for it is the actor who actually has the firearm in their hand. So we can look at this however you want. They grabbed it out of the wrong box. It doesn't matter. The actor is responsible, the producer and the union is responsible for the death of the producer that happened. New Mexico law is kind of soft. Plus, being too close to shoot a blank. Should have never been pointed at somebody that wasn't part of the scene. Should have never been pointing a loaded gun, whether it's blanks or not, to anybody. Right? We don't point guns. That's the first thing you learn. You don't point guns at somebody. You don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to pull it. Right? That's gun safety 101. That's what happens when people who aren't trained handle firearms. That's what happens when anti-gun people think that they know everything about firearms, and this exactly happens. Now, why am I bringing this up? New Mexico law states that manslaughter, unintentional manslaughter, gives a $5,000 fine and up to 18 months in jail. That's what it is. Somebody in that set has to pay for what happened. Somebody said, well, it was an accident. Accidents happen. But when an accident with a firearm happens, the gun-loving, honest citizen pays the price for negligence on somebody who never should have had a firearm in their hand, who doesn't like firearms, who should have never been in that situation, right? But the gun owner, the legal gun owner, is the one who pays the consequences for that, especially if you're here in the state of California. There is a part of the blank that still comes out, and it penetrates a little bit, and it kind of hits you, right? And the other one gets ejected. We all know that. So something does come out. So it's a loaded firearm. Whether you like it or not, you don't point it at people. You don't do what he did. That's negligence on his part. I don't care who you are. There should be consequences to that. California, get ready, because that's going to increase our gun laws. They are going to come over here. We talked a little bit last week about 311 and 11.3, I believe it is, which is in the defense, the United States defense, where Congress did sign that the military does have the right to come and confiscate your firearms with no questions asked, and then you have to go in front of a military judge to try to get your guns rights back. That's actually part of the defense, the United States defense program and bill that they just passed, and a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats signed on to it, and that is actually going into law and effect. It's a violation of our constitutional rights. It's a violation of our Second Amendment. Yet that has got passed through law in the state, in the United States, as in general for America. Will they enforce that? We don't know. Why would they want to take your gun rights away? Well, it's very simple. Why do they take your gun rights away? So you don't have a way to defend yourself. You don't have a way to stand up against corrupt government. We already saw what happens with voting. We have very few honest politicians out there that want to make California better or even the United States better. So they're taking all your tools away from you to be able to defend yourself and defend all your rights and everything else that you have going. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, just got on. Let me see, which one were you asking about? Sorry, guys, I'm catching up here. I was kind of looking at the other side. If they consider it income, it's tax deductible. People don't know that. Okay, so we're talking about the child credit. Everybody gets $300 child credit right now instead of getting it at the end of the year, they're giving it to you right now. They actually, remember this, when you get a tax return, guess what? They turn around and tax you on your tax return. So they're going to tax you on the tax credit that they're giving you for a child. So be careful with that. It's not tax deductible. It's actually income that they're going to actually try to say that they gave you $300 a month more towards it. Gun rights in the state of California are actually going to get hurt a little bit here because of what? Because of what Alec Bowen did in New Mexico. It has nothing to do with California. It's negligence from the actors and the producers and the union on that set that cost a young lady's life. But California and gun owners will pay the price. We always do. So be ready for that. I also talked about the defense bill that came from the United States, Section 311 and 116, I believe it is. Sorry, I don't remember the last one right off the top of my head right now. It's Section 311-110, I believe it is, that it states that the United States military has the right to come in your house, confiscate your firearms with no questions asked. They actually have that right. It got signed. That's a straight violation of our Second Amendment and our Constitution of the United States. Will they actually enforce it? That's something that we have to look at. Keep an eye on all this. See, these bills get passed every day, then none of us really know the full bill. Sure sounds good. This is the bill for the safety of the United States, for defense, but in the bottom clause it says that the military has the right to come into your house, confiscate your firearms, and you have to go be in front of a military judge to convince them that you need your guns right back. Kind of crazy. That's actually in the defense bill. Look it up. It's their way of being able to trample in our constitutional rights. Now, if you're a constitutionalist, you know that there's nothing that they can actually take away from the Constitution, but it's going to be a battle to get it. If you don't have guns, how are you going to fight? If you don't have a good attorney, how are you going to fight? If the system's corrupt, how are you going to fight for any of this? Right now is the time that we as Californians need to start uniting and coming together for a better future, because if we don't, we will not have any rights in the state of California. They're already taking our vehicle rights away. And I say that very simple. They're taking your driving privileges away, or you're going to have to pay a premium to be able to actually drive in the state of California. That's what SB 339 is about. Most people cannot afford $3,000 a month, $3,000 a year, per car that you own to actually be able to drive. So what are they doing? They're limiting your buying power by telling you it's going to cost you extra every year to drive that vehicle on the road. Yet they're charging you more money on gas as it is. So they're double, triple gouging us these days in the state of California. So we got to be careful of what's going on. These are our assemblymen. These are our senators. These are our state legislations that are doing this to us. You know, vaccination, mandates on vaccinations. Florida, DeSantis actually standing up to every county by saying you cannot mandate, you cannot fire somebody. This is unconstitutional. It's their freedom, it's their rights that you're trampling on. There is an actual lawsuit going on right now in the state of Florida from different counties, from the state, because it is unconstitutional for them to mandate you to have a vaccination, to have a job. And that's what the state of California is leading the the state of Florida is leading the charge. That's why when you look at DeSantis, might not like all his policies, but he's actually about the state of Florida and the people of Florida more than he is about the president of the United States and the legislation that the federal government is doing. If you guys go on my Facebook, I actually put a little clip where it talks about we can't mandate this, we can't do this. And these are the people that are now mandating exactly what we're talking about. They're double talking. They're telling you what you want to hear, and they're doing whatever they want to do. We have got to unite and stand together for a better future, because if we don't, there's not going to be a future to fight for. Let's talk a little bit about, we kind of talked a little bit about what's going on the Saturday, Patriots United, Freedom Rally, Ceres, California, River Bluff Regional Park. It starts at noon. We have great speakers lined up. I'm going to be there. Come on out, come talk, come meet. It's a great time to meet people. Doesn't matter what party you're with. If you're not a Republican, if you're not a Democrat, if you're just a Libertarian, if you're just out there, come on out, come meet people, come talk. It's time that we start voting for people on their ideologies and what they stand for more than their party lines, because parties don't mean anything anymore. We noticed that during the recall. The Republican Party was nowhere to be seen. Yet, after there was no recall, then you get your senators calling and saying, hey, we have a water problem, we have a border problem, we have this, we have that. You need to reelect me. Why would I want to reelect you if you haven't done anything for us now? The recall is an eye awakener. It's awakening up California. It's waking us all up to understand that we have legislation, that we're paying people out there to represent us that don't. Right now, we have an opportunity in 2022 to replace a lot of these people that are in office. And it doesn't matter their party. We need to get the right people in place so that we can actually make a change in California. One person isn't going to do it. But right now, lieutenant governor's coming up, secretary of state, governor's back up, right? How many assembly seats are back up to be reelected? If your assembly person hasn't done anything, doesn't matter your party line, time to change. Why are these people living out their 12 years in the assembly getting a fat retirement when they did nothing for us? Most of us don't even know who our assembly people are. Why? Because they don't make waves. You don't even hear about them. But they're passing laws every day that hurt each and every single one of us, and none of us know about it. And when we try calling them, when we try emailing them, they don't pick up. They don't send you an email back. That's the problem that's going on right now. This is what's going on in California. This is what's going on all over the United States. Let's talk a little bit about power, electricity, compared to where we're headed and where we're at right now. California wants to be the leader on going on a Green Deal. They want to do away with fossil fuels. They want to do away with power, everything other than solar or wind. Sure sounds good. Unfortunately, you can't do that. We need more than one source of power to maintain the size of California and the people in California. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. We've heard that all our lives, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because what happens when that basket breaks? There's no more basket to dig from. You can't go all green. Yes, there's place for solar. There's place for biofuel. There's place for nuclear. There's place for PG&E. We have got to start working on infrastructure in the state of California. A lot of people don't know this, but the infrastructure bill got passed. Nobody ever deals with it. It's just been neglected. And now you look at our roads, you look at the rest of our infrastructure, you look at our dams. There's been waterfall. Most of us notice that for the last couple of days it's been raining, and it's been raining pretty good. Okay, so what does that do to the water in the state of California? Are we still in a drought? Are we still needing more water? What is really going on? So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight here. We're still dumping a lot of water into the ocean for some reason, even though we're low on water, even though this governor put a state of emergency under 58 counties that are now under water state of emergency. Yeah, we're still dumping more water than we're saving. Right now, because of the rainfall, we got a little bit of water. We actually got more water in than what we're dumping out, but we're still dumping the water out, which makes no sense at all. I keep bringing up the rally, November 18th, state capitol, boots on the ground. Cali is standing strong here on getting people out there to the rally to fight for our water rights. Our legislation, the people that we have in office, they need to be able to hear us. Yes, it's a Thursday morning from 10 to 2, 10 to 4. We're going to be out there. Why are we doing it on a Thursday? Most of us work. The reality is most of us don't work. Most people in California aren't working right now because they were getting unemployment, because jobs weren't there because of COVID, whatever it might be. This is one thing, even if you are working and you have something to do with water, that's if you drink it, bathe in it, if you agricultural, farmer, dairy, poachers, fishermen, water advocates, we need all of you to bring your groups, come together at the Capitol, November 18th. Let our legislation hear that we have had enough of them dumping our water and not giving us a water resource that we need to have. There is no reason why we're dumping water into the ocean right now when we're in a drought. There's no reason why we're dumping water in the ocean when we're telling us to conserve water. Well, guess what? The government needs to conserve water. They need to give our water back. We need to have our farmers being able to have the water that they need to grow our vegetables, to grow our agricultural, to get our state going back to where it needs to be. If you're a labor in a farm, if you're out there picking the fruit, if you're out there being a laborer and you want to get paid more, well, you can't get paid more if the farmer can't grow more. It just doesn't happen that way. Only so much could go. So if you're talking about your labor laws and wanting to get paid more because you work out there, this is a rally you want to go to. If you're a truck driver and you're trucking produce from one side of the state to the other, or maybe to another state, you might want to show up here, because if there's no produce, because there's no water, you're not going to have a job. California is the most anti-small business state of ever, right? We saw that with the new bill that just passed a week ago about small engines. All our landscaping companies are going to go under. All your small landscaping companies are going to have a tough time buying enough batteries and charging those batteries to keep their jobs and their employees going. Now, I just said that, right? Charge your batteries. Yeah, you want to do away with electricity. You want to do away with fossil fuels. You want us to just go off solar. So what happens if it's raining and you need to charge your batteries? So that tomorrow that it's dry, you can actually go to work. Well, you can't, because when it rains, when it's cloudy, when there's no sun out, your solar isn't working unless you got a backup battery, right? All this is what's going on in the state of California, and it's all coming down. School mandates. Our kids have to have a COVID-19 test come next year. They have to have a shot. So you want to put medicine in our kids before they're sick. Restaurants asking you for a card for you to go sit down and eat because of the mandate. Any of you guys ever thought about this? And this is kind of funny to me, because when we were talking about election integrity, we were talking about voter ID. Our vice president said it's discriminating because poor people, black people, Mexican people, whatever you want to call it, cannot afford a driver's license. They cannot afford an ID. You guys remember that? How do you want us to afford a vaccination and a vaccination card? Asking for a friend, because that's our freedom that they're taking away from us. This is your freedom. Medical freedom should be our right. It shouldn't be an option. It shouldn't be something we need to fight for. We should be able to have the medical freedom of our bodies to be able to do what we want. That's the same thing with the vaccinations. We should be able to have the right to choose whether we want a vaccination or not. I want to make this kind of clear to everybody. It's not that I'm against the vaccination. I'm not anti-vax. What I am is anti-taking my freedom and my rights away. And that's what's going on when they mandate something, when they force you to do something against your own will. They're taking your freedom away. People come to this country for the freedoms and the rights and the liberties and the opportunities to live better. Yet they're taking that away from us now. Look at other countries that have gone through the same thing. Look at Venezuela. Look at Australia. Look at Cuba. Because we're headed in the same direction if we don't do something, and we don't do something fast. California, if we don't start fighting for California, there isn't going to be a California to fight for. We have a lot of laws that come into effect that have absolutely nothing positive coming out of it. And we keep signing these same people back into office. What happened during the school walkout? 10%, each school lost 10%. So 90% of the students, 90% of the parents didn't care about the walkout, so they sent their kids to school. It might be for different reasons that they did it, but they still did it, so the walkout really didn't mean nothing. That's why November 18th is so important, that we all take the time, and instead of 90% of us going to work, 90% of us need to go to the Capitol. 90% of us need to be out there screaming and yelling and holding our signs up and letting our legislation know that our water rights is something that we want right. We want our water rights back. We want our water protected, and we are done being in a drought when we don't have to be. And we are done letting them dictate what happens in our state, because that's what's going on right now. We elected these people. There's no accountability for what they do, yet we're still paying their salary. during COVID, when most of us didn't have a job, when they were shutting down most of our job, they were still getting paid to sit at home and do nothing. That's what's going on in California these days. Our power, man, we have got to fix our infrastructure. We have got to fix our power system, our power grids in the state of California, and for everything, whether we go green or not, we have got to do something different. We did a recall. What happened to the recall? Well, they made it about one Republican and one Democrat. So they took the whole focus out of the state of California versus Gavin Newsom to one Republican versus one Democrat. That was a straight recipe for failure. And it happened. It failed. Why? Because we made it about one person over another person, and they called somebody a front runner who never debated with anybody just because he was known. But if he would have debated, well, he has still been so popular. Nobody knows. Why? Because they didn't let him debate. They took people who actually have good ideas and good responses to being able to make California better, and they brushed you to the side because you weren't part of their idea of where they wanted California to go. The recall is never supposed to happen. That's the bottom line, and they weren't going to let it happen. Why? Especially the Democratic Party. They actually, the Vice President, Speaker of the House, the President of the United States, showed up to California to fight for a recall. Yet I'm still waiting for a Republican representative to show up to say, vote yes on the recall. Because we didn't get that. We didn't get the support that we needed, and the California people got cheated out of a hard effort that they took, a grassroots movement, to remove a bad governor. It got stolen from us, and we allowed it. Grassroots people need to unite. Californians need to unite. It's no longer about party lines. Parties don't have much to do with what's going on in the state of California. The people of California need to stand up. We have got to secure our borders. You haven't heard about border security. You haven't heard anybody even talk about what's going on at the border. Yet you still have caravans of people trying to come into our country. We have nobody out here protecting us. Now it is time that we start protecting our own. We have got to secure our borders. We have got to get California back in control. Our homeless issues. You haven't heard anybody talk about the homeless, but you do hear about Gavin Newsom wanting to put $12 billion in a problem, keep throwing money at it without a real solution. All this can be fixed if somebody wants to fix it. Why does nobody want to fix this stuff? It's simple. Your counties are in a state of emergency for the homeless. The federal government keeps giving them money. They don't have no accountability where that money goes or what happens to that money. So it's a free piggy bank for each county to claim a state of emergency. So they don't want somebody like me in office that says, hey, here's the solution. It's no longer a county to county. It's a California problem. So if we're going to have a federal grant, it's going to be for the state of California, not per county. That's why policies that fix stuff aren't always the best policies for the people who are in office right now, because they don't care about you and me. They don't care about the homeless people. They don't care about our economy. All they care is about how big their bank account is. Now, the recall happened. Gavin Newsom spent $380 million. Where did he get the money from? Special interests, right? So he got it from special interest groups. So what's going on now? Gavin Newsom's paying off the debt. Gavin Newsom's paying off the debt by signing law and legislation that makes no sense to you and me and every other working American here who it just doesn't make sense. How does it make sense to take your lawnmower and make it take the gas out of your lawnmower and make it into an electric lawnmower or a battery operated lawnmower? Who makes money off that? So you're taking the fossil fuel out of the equation and you're going straight into electric. So now you got to have solar. You got to have some way to put your electric bill down so that you can charge your batteries to go to work. What happens with the batteries when they're done? Those batteries contain more pollution and are worse for our environment than a tank of gas or anything that a small engine would have taken out. Now, that's what's going on in California, and we're allowing these people to do it. You don't hear education being talked about a lot. You don't hear about CRT. You don't hear about gender being taught in our schools and people bringing it up anymore. Why did we get quiet all of a sudden? The election happened, we failed, so we got quiet about the problems that we're having. Has anybody else noticed that, or is that just me? We cannot allow these problems to continue. We cannot let them get swept under. You know why I'm so hard on Alec Baldwin? Because he's going to get swept under, because he's an elite, because he's an actor, because it was an accident. I'm going to remind you guys about something that happened about a year ago. There was a young lady, she was a police officer. She yelled out, "Taser, taser, taser, taser," and shot a guy in the back. Clearly, it was an accident. You guys remember that? She even stated, "I thought I had my taser." Bad training, 100% agreed. Bad training from the police department to make sure. Bad training from the police officer to know which side was her taser or what side was her gun, or do they have it on the same side, which you should never do that. But it was an accident. She yelled out, "Taser, taser, taser," before she discharged. Right? We remember that. The media hung her. They hung her. Right? And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have been charged. I'm not saying that it was a neglect on her part, or it was a neglect on that police department. What I'm saying is Alec Baldwin discharged live ammunition on a movie set. There's protocols to make sure that doesn't happen. There's people who check that firearm. There's unions, workers that are supposed to check that firearm, prop people that are supposed to check that firearm, and last, the producers. Oh wait, Alec Baldwin was one of the producers. There's neglect. Yet what? Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to sweep that under the rug. That is the problem. They want to sweep it under the rug because he's an elite. There is no excuse. If we're going to hang a police officer for making a mistake, in reality, it's almost the same mistake, right? She thought she was shooting her taser. He thought he was shooting blanks. He might be shooting blanks in his personal life, but that gun was not full of blanks. Why was there a loaded firearm on the set with live ammo? That is against half the union policies. That's why I'm being so hard on it, and that's why I'm not letting it go. That's why on my page, I'm going to keep posting it. I don't care if it offends you, get off my page. It's very simple. Somebody's life got taken away. It is somebody's responsibility to pay for that. They said the gun that was used was for off-site target practicing. So you already knew that gun has held live ammo. Who loaded that gun? Whose responsibility is it to take a look at it? There's negligence on that whole set. Anybody who had anything to do with that, their head should go down with it. New Mexico laws, unfortunately, are very light compared to what it should be. Involuntary manslaughter goes up to 18 months and $5,000 fine. I think that's light, accident or not. Why aren't these people trained to handle a firearm? Negligent homicide. Why am I bringing this up and we're in California? Because at the end of the day, California pays for everybody's negligence of firearms. We're already the most restricted firearm state around. Yet, when something happens somewhere else, we pay the price. It's important that we understand what's good for one is good for the other. We have got to get off this elite people don't pay the price for anything. Yet, the common person pays the price for everything. Where do we become a society that's okay? How come he wasn't arrested? How come he wasn't interrogated? How come he wasn't taken down to the precinct and asked what happened? He should definitely go to jail. And he should pay to the family of this, just like the rest of us would. Is there a child without a mother now? Or are we looking at it because Alec Baldwin is different? So that's why I don't get off of it. Not that I have a hard on for the guy, not because I even like the guy, because I stopped watching his movies the minute he started opening up his mouth. I don't think entertainers should get in politics. I don't think entertainers should get in the middle of it. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he endorsed Joe Biden. Should probably just kept it to yourself. Kind of been like Denzel. Because Denzel at least has a little bit of class and he doesn't say who he stands with. Denzel Washington actually kept his mouth shut. It is true that the woman he killed was a wife of one of the attorneys that is probing in the... it might be. I'm not really sure. But I'm actually going to look into that. The attorney probing into the Clintons. I'm actually going to look into that. Actually, that's one. I heard something about him having something to do. Sorry, I'm writing it down. That's what's taking me so long. But I will actually look at that. 2 accounts boosting. Hopefully we can get some more accounts boosting my program here so we can get some more showings, right? So we're I'm going to actually look into that. Next week I'll have an answer for you on that. If he has anything to do, if he's really an attorney, if he's really part of the Russian Clinton administration that are fighting against them, and maybe that's why. It could be. I heard other people bring it up. I'm definitely going to look. So next week, if I get it before then, I'll bring it up and I'll do a show on it, because that's very interesting to know if the Clintons did have something to do with it. It's neglect. It's negligence. It's neglect. Somebody needs to pay for a life that got taken out, whether we like it or not. That's just the way life is, right? We have to pay for our actions. We all do. If you and me had done it, we'd be in jail, right? Let's just put it that it wasn't him who did it. Let's say it was an extra on the set. There was supposed to be a bank robbery. I don't even know what the movie was about. Let's say that it's just an extra on the set, Joe Blow from nowhere, right? And he went, grabbed that gun and shot her. He'd be in jail. He'd be in jail today. No ands, no buts about it, right? But because it's an elite person, they're not in jail. They didn't even get investigated. Please like and share my videos with all your people. If you guys are online right now, hit share so other people on your list can actually see them, because we need to get the word out. I need everybody's help to get who I am out, get my name out there, because we are running for governor in 2022. We're going to run this race completely different than what we ran the recall. We're going to run it a lot more stronger. We're going to be on the road a lot more. I mean, I can only be on the road so much, but we're working on some different avenues to get us on the road. So we're on the road 365 till June, till the general elections. We need to get our name out there. We need to get people to know who I am. We also need to be able to have people come out to the rallies. The Patriot United Freedom Rally this Saturday, series, Central Valley, California. Come on out. We're coming to you. You need to come on out. Come meet people. I'm going to be out there. They're allowing me to speak, so that's going to be awesome. I like all of you guys to come out there and meet me, meet the other speakers. We have a lot of patriot groups that are coming out that stand for different things, that all want a better future for California. It's California. Remember this. This is California. It's not Republican, not Democrats, not Green. It's not independent. It's California, and this is the California people. We need to rise for our freedom. We need to rise for our future. Forget about party lines. This has absolutely nothing to do with party lines. This has got to do about a better future. Remember when people used to be proud of their kids, but disappointed in their education system that wasn't pushing them? You know what? Our education system sucks. We need to fix education. We have our assembly people sit in the legislation of education. They sit in that committee. Yet they're not doing anything about it. Those are the people that we voted for. Gavin Newsom made it now. The CRT training is a must, and you have to complete the class before you graduate. Why are we teaching hatred? Why are we teaching that if you're a minority, it's okay to commit a crime because you have an excuse? Let's stop making excuses. What happened to the only excuse was you didn't go out and you didn't earn it? Remember, all this started, and I'll back up a little bit. All this started was when you play baseball, you got a participation award. No, you lost. You go back, you train harder that week, and you come out and you beat that team the next time you see them. Do we remember those days? Because I do. I remember playing sports, and if we lost, we didn't get anything. We got to put our heads down and walk to the bus, the walk of shame. Remember those days? We didn't get a participation. Oh, here's a feel good. No, the feel good was going back and working harder at practice, getting our team better to come back the next day and beat them. That was the feel good feeling. That got taken away from our kids. Now, what was it? Oh, you play? Here's your participation. You lost? Oh, here's your participation. Oh my God, you guys came in second place. Congratulations, you're the first winner of the losers. We forgot our fundamentals in the United States. We forgot our fundamentals in California. We forgot that if you don't work for something, you don't get anything. And we trained our kids to do that. We trained our kids to get a participation award instead of getting a go back home and work harder. Go back and put more effort into it. Go back and push yourself to a better future. That's what we forgot to train our kids, right? Some people say that some parents are hard, and I watched this, and I was a little bit with my kids. Come on, go out there. You can do better. You can do this better. You can do this better. You got to go push. You got to be better. You got to be number one. You have got to go out there, right? We used to push our kids, and then they call that child abuse. They said we were abusing our kids because we were pushing them to be better. Yeah, all of a sudden they got, look, Dad, I got an award for what? For participating. Go participate and go mow the lawn. Go earn $1, right? I mean, we have given all that away. We have given our rights as parents. Now where the government can actually go in and tell your 11-year-old, and this is a fact, this is a law that happens right now, and it's AB, so it's assembly bills that have passed that allow your kid at the age of the age of 11 to be able to go get an abortion without you knowing anything about it. They also allowed your 11-year-old boy to go be an 11-year-old girl and get a doctor to give him hormones without you knowing about it. This is what's going on in California. This is why our future is so important. This is why it's important that we all unite as Californians, as proud Americans, and people who want our country back to where it deserves to be. Why? Because our freedoms are getting taken away and we're allowing it. Because we have the wrong people in office. Because we have Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever the hell you are, separate the humanity, separate our values. We have taken church out of everything. We have taken God out of everything. Here's a catch, guys. And I don't talk about churches and God a whole lot. I believe in God and I believe in church. But I believe that we need to do that at home, and we need to start at home. It needs to start at home with each and every single one of us. Yes, you hear people on podcasts all the time talk about God. Yet they don't go to church. Yet they don't go out and do what they're supposed to do. You want to talk about God? You want to talk about church? Let's talk about it at home. Let's talk about our morals. Let's talk about our values at home. Let's teach our kids our values. Let's start with our kids. Let's teach them our values at home. What happened to having dinner with the whole family, where the whole family got together and had dinner? When's the last time you sat down with your kids and actually had dinner with them, actually a home-cooked meal? Now go through McDonald's, now go through a stupid drive-through. What happened to that? That's where we start losing some of our values, where we've had to work. When mom and dad have to work, they work crazy schedules. And yeah, we forget the simple stuff in life that we used to have. I read a thing the other day, and I think I posted it. And it said, I'm a 70s, 80s kid. Our punishment was staying inside the house. We used to get home and it used to be go outside and play. Get out of the house, go outside and play. Do we remember those days where our parents used to say, go outside, go play, come back when the lights go down? What phone? Our phone used to be attached to the wall. And it's funny because everybody knew you were on the phone, so you only had so much time on the phone. You couldn't be on the phone all the time. That was an 80s kid, right? We rode our bicycles, we got hurt. We fell down, we got up, and we got back on our bikes and rode. Whether you rode a skateboard or a bicycle or whatever you did. Having a kid fall was what it happened, right? Our text messages from our parents was a note like this. And if I remember right, it used to say something like this. This, and this better be done before I get home or you get your butt whooped. What happened to eating what mom made or dad made that night? not whatever the hell you wanted. That was an 80s kid. Used to go out and play at the park. Staying home was a punishment. We have to bring all that back to our kids. And it starts at home. Religion, God, starts at home. Our values start at home. We need to teach our kids our own values. I'll set out a challenge. Try once a week, if you can, to sit with your kids and the rest of your family for one dinner, one meal. Start there. Because it's going to take each and every single one of us to do our part to change California and change our values back and bring our values back to our kids. Take the phone, put them on the side for a little bit. Have an hour where nobody could get a hold of you, where you can actually have dinner with your kids and enjoy some time with your kids. Let's try to do that. That's a solid challenge to each and every single one of you guys out there. One day a week. And if you can't do it one day a week, try doing it once a month, where you get your kids, you get your wife, husband, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you have, and you sit down and you have a home-cooked meal with the whole family there and your phone's set aside. It'll be uncomfortable at the beginning, but after a while, some of the things that our kids will treasure forever and some of the memories that we can never take back. Talk about everything else except the problems. Talk about how great life is. Talk about what the future can hold. Talk about education. Just talk about being a family and maybe planning a family outing where you're all involved. My challenge to the rest of California is to take one night and have dinner with your family, sit down, take your phones off, see what's out there. Because we as parents have to put our values in our children. Because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to. Maybe take a Sunday, go to church, sit in the pew together. Bring God back into our lives, but bring it back into our homes before we worry about bringing it back to our state or back into our schools. We should definitely bring God back into our families, in our homes, because that's where it starts. Our kids get the most from us, the parents. Our kids become us if we teach them the right thing to do. Bring God back into your home. Don't worry about it, school. Don't worry about jobs. Because if God's in your home, God's in your kids, God's in their heart. And that's where it should be at. I can't recite the Bible. I've read it. But I can tell you this. I know there's a God. I know there's a Holy Spirit. I know Jesus as a Son. And I know that we need to bring God back into our homes, into our lives, before we worry about bringing it everywhere else. Because if it's not your home, it doesn't matter if it's at your job. It doesn't matter if it's at the schools. Because if you don't believe in it at home, you're not going to believe it anywhere else. My name is Diego Martinez. I am a candidate for Governor of California, 2022. I'm asking for everybody's support. I'm asking for everybody to like and share my videos and pass it along to your friends. This Saturday, if you're in the Central Valley, if you're anywhere near Ceres, California, come on out. Come meet me. Come be part of the movement for a better California. Come out to the rally. It's called Patriots United for Freedom Rally. It is at Riverbluff Regional Park in Ceres, California. It starts at noon. Be there a little early. Come and meet. Talk to people. Just be a friend. You'll be surprised. Bring your kids. Want a family outing? That's a perfect one. Bring your kids and show them that you're fighting for their freedom, that you're standing up for their rights, for their future. Because if we don't, it's not going to happen. I remember when you used to be able to punish your kids. Do you guys remember that? Somebody said something about timeout. I said after I got my ass whooped, I wanted timeout from my parents. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to get another ass whooping. So, thank you guys for joining me Thursday morning, Waking Up California. My name is Diego Martinez, and I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. For a lot of you guys, I'll see you this Saturday, Ceres, California, noon, Red Bluff Regional Park. I'll see you guys there. Come out and join us. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys.